Hello, friends. Uncle Marv here with another episode of the IT Business Podcast, the show for IT professionals and managed service providers, where we help you run your business better, smarter, and faster, except for a day like today. Today is just going to be a little hangout day, and the reason is because I have D and D Sizer in the house, and if you don't know what that means, Don and Dave realize that there is something south of Orlando in the state of Florida. Guys, welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having us. I mean, we're still trying to build out this map of this weird location that is south of Orlando.
I feel like Lewis and Clark a little bit. We're just, mapping it out, prove to the rest of the country there is something below Orlando.
Yeah, it's, Florida's not flat, by the way.
I don't know.
So I will say this publicly on the air. I have been holding my tongue because I have known that you were supposed to be here for
months.
Yes.
Months.
And all I kept thinking is, why the heck is she not reaching out to me and letting me know?
To be fair.
And I wanted to know, what was the holdout?
It was me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Okay.
It was. So, in fact, Dave was pestering me the last, week, probably.
Or maybe a little more.
Maybe a little more. I'm the problem. It's me. So.
All right, T. So here's the question. Was it because you were just in denial that this conference can't really be happening? It doesn't say Orlando or Tampa. So that can't be. This must be a mistake.
I mean, to be fair, there might have been some of that.
Okay.
Some of it too was, how long ago was it that we actually had plane tickets and everything?
Last week.
Last week.
Okay.
So I'm the problem. It's me. I'm going to keep saying that over and over. But there were some other things at play where we were just kind of waiting. We were in this really weird scenario.
Yeah, you're waiting to see, okay, I know the airline let us book the flight to Fort Lauderdale, but does that place really exist? Will the plane actually land? Is that what you were thinking? And then once you got off, you're like, oh, we're here.
Oh, to be fair, we didn't come here. We went to Miami.
Oh, okay.
So we still weren't sure Fort Lauderdale was real.
Right.
I was like, when was the last time we were in Miami? Oh, that's right.
Never.
Oh, my goodness gracious. All right. So Miami was probably a little cheaper to fly there, right?
I think it was just the way that we fly American for the most part.
Okay.
Because that's the easiest airline out of Harrisburg.
It's a bigger hub than Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale does have American, by the way. But if you were flying nonstop, that probably was a reason, because
we did not.
Delta's a bigger hub. You did not fly nonstop?
No. So we came right out of Harrisburg. So we went Harrisburg to Charlotte, and then Charlotte put us on a big 777.
Really?
Yeah, that was wild. To go a whole hour down here.
Well, there were probably a whole bunch of internationals with you because they were coming to fly out of Miami.
So they were flying out of Miami to go to Buenos Aires, and we were just like, we've got our passports. Maybe we should just back on the plane.
Already got a seat.
I mean, we've done that plenty of times. I think the last time we were in Chicago, and we're walking by Aer Lingus, who is heading over to Dublin, and we're like, well, we've got our passports. Maybe we should just go to Ireland.
And we should have.
We should have. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Okay. All right. So all kidding aside, you're here.
I'm here.
You made it to the office. I don't think I've ever done this on air. First impressions? What do you think?
I can't tell you just how excited I was that, like, the first 2 minutes we were here, Iggy the Iguana actually wandered past. And I was like, would it be weird if I ran out and pet him? So
Iggy wouldn't allow that. He doesn't know you. He doesn't know.
But I know him.
Yes.
I know all about him.
Yeah, see? Iggy is true.
And he's enormous.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he was bigger than I thought. He had to have been, 3.5 feet long.
Yeah.
Probably.
Probably 5 with the tail.
Yeah.
He's big.
He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Not quite as big as the pitties, but we have the 2 dogs, and I don't know.
Your dogs would run.
They would run in fear of the iguana, no doubt. They might chase a little.
They would chase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Do they squeak? If they squeak,
No, they don't. They don't make noise. They make a little pitter patter sound as they run. It literally sounds like a pitter patter,
Yeah.
like their feet would be, webbed or something, which they're not.
I don't know what Freya would do with that.
Hmm.
I don't know. She likes things that squeak.
Now, if they're really, really mad, they'll hiss.
Oh.
So they do hiss.
No, the dogs would run away.
Yeah, then they would run away. Big scary pit bulls. It's at them when they run away.
All right. So you're here, Florida, came down for the Enable Empower event.
Yes.
I saw that you were on the speaker list. Did you already do your session?
Did my session this morning.
10 o'clock?
9:15.
9:15?
Yeah.
I almost was going to go there.
You should have.
I was going to go. I was going to wait for you to get on stage and then walk in from the back and just start walking up the aisle.
Oh, that would have been amazing.
And been like, excuse me. You get...
That would have been amazing. And you would have all of a sudden been on that stage with me because I would, 100%. Yes. Co-presenting.
Yeah. Interesting. How did the session go? Now, usually the first sessions are usually pretty packed down here. Was it packed?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the room was completely packed, standing room only. In fact, they were bringing in extra chairs because there were so many people standing in the room.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your session again was on?
So it was called Turning a Ticket Factory into an Intelligence Engine.
So basically a new name for an AI-powered presentation, right?
No.
No?
Strangely.
Okay. Do tell.
So, I mean, there was, of course, you have to obligatory,
Well,
you have to mention AI. But what it was really about was we had a terrible year last year. And it was just a horrific scenario. And
like net income was negative last year?
No.
Oh, okay. All
No.
right. Okay.
No.
It was a terrible experience last year.
Okay.
Right.
It made us rethink and rebuild how we did everything in the business.
Okay.
And so she told our story, which was, kind of an embarrassing but a vulnerable type story.
Yeah. I mean, I started it out with, it's messy, it's frustrating, it's quite frankly embarrassing to be able to come to an event like this and say, you have a 20-some person MSP, you can't get your tickets closed, they're super long to close, first touch resolution wasn't happening for the most part, and what we had to do to get out of that situation and how long it took.
All right. So I know part of this story.
You do.
I just don't know the whole story.
Should have been at the session.
I would not have paid it one bit of attention. Not one bit of attention. I'd have had Iggy on a leash.
I wouldn't have paid one bit of attention either.
But yeah, I remember part of that story and some of the things that you did to, let's say, eliminate part of your process.
Yeah. So we talked about that. One of the first things that we realized was, to be fair, for those of you that don't know, not only are Dave and I married, but he's my CTO, my COO. He's been acting as my service manager for the last year. Like, he's literally the brains of the operation. He's my better half. There's no doubt about this. So I think this is where your part of the story, like, I know a lot of this stuff had happened, but I think you were out of the office when the main thing happened that day.
Yep.
And come into the office, and our 20-plus year employee didn't show up that day. Like, that's really strange. I usually get a text, something along those lines. Go into his office, and I find his phone, his keys, and a note on his desk.
Yep.
That was it.
Gone. And that's when we started to uncover the mess that was really going on. Because as service manager, he was the funnel. So we only knew what our view of a lot of things really is what we knew from him.
Right.
And he managed everything the way he thought was best. And we did well as a company. Don't take that wrong.
Right. Like,
but when he left, so too did all of the knowledge, institutional knowledge that
Right.
he knew.
Right.
Single point of escalation was him. He controlled a lot of things.
Right.
And so all of a sudden it was like, well, where are we at now?
Right. Well, and what we were finding was, and to be fair, I think a lot of MSPs have this scenario going on to some degree, whatever that degree is. Not only was he that point of escalation, but he was also the area of workaround, right? So if there was a decision to be made and a workaround to be had, that's where that lived. And so too did that knowledge.
Right.
Right. So everybody else was like, oh, so now what do we do? And we had a lot of, so now what do we do for a couple of months?
Right. So I imagine that the session really geared towards, letting businesses know that one, you have to plan to not have that scenario in your business. Put processes in place so that an employee can't walk away with that knowledge and stuff.
Documentation, processes, all of those types of things that were weak. We really had a house of cards.
But here's the question though. So you mentioned that it's an embarrassing thing from your perspective, only because you're considered one of the mature MSPs in the space.
So I think it's an embarrassing piece from what we thought was actually happening.
Okay. That's where I was going to go to, because you probably didn't know what you didn't know until
that's right.
I would say that's true.
Because you probably thought everything was fine.
Right. Yes. And to be fair, I started out this session with, we thought things were okay, but we had implemented EOS a couple years ago and that worked out pretty well for us. But there were a couple areas where I wasn't getting metrics that I was asking for. And people were telling me, well, they're just too hard to get. I'm thinking, ain't that hard. I got mine. We got ours, it's just not that difficult. So what's the holdup here? So we decided to make accountability the word of the year for 2025. And the rats literally fled the ship.
As they normally do.
As they do. Yeah, it's strange how that happens. So from the accountability standpoint, like, yes, we had everything done the way that EOS tells you to do and who was accountable for what. We as business owners were at fault for a lot of things. Like, don't hear this as, well, it's everybody else's fault because they weren't doing their jobs. It's our fault. We own the business. It's our fault. We weren't doing what we should have been doing because we weren't holding people accountable the way that we should have.
I think that's the embarrassing part most of all, is that we thought things were fine, but we weren't really keeping our finger on the pulse the way we should have. We were seeing the end result and everything was good and we're growing and we were growing exponentially, doubling in size every year, year after year. And it was, hey, it's wonderful. And you built this great house of cards and you stopped really looking at what was going on in the day to day. And that's no one's fault but our own. And so when things went south, as they do, we were wholly unprepared to discover what we did and how things were actually going on. And that's when we had to just jump in with, 2 feet and just go to work and make some really tough decisions about what we were going to do to restructure.
Did I tell you about the bike horn?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it was, we kept finding things like, what is this? Why is this like this? Why on earth was this like this? And so Don went and bought an old bike horn, like a honk honk kind of bike horn, and told the guys, every time you find something that's not right, just honk the horn. Well, that thing honked nonstop, day after day after day after day after day. It was like, oh my gosh. But then slowly over time, it honked less and less. And then, we went months without anybody honking it. And it was like, I think we're finally.
Yeah, but then what was it, Wednesday or Thursday of last week?
One more thing. There's always going to be something else. But it became a joke then at that point. Where's that darn horn? Go honk that thing again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, in the beginning, it's got to be a little daunting, a little annoying. But what do they say in sports? Winning covers up a lot, right?
Yeah.
It does.
So as you were saying, you were growing, money was rolling in, you didn't have that negative. So yeah, you were kind of just moving along. But now, I'm going to assume that you've righted the ship as much as you can right now. When you talked about metrics not being met and stuff, how much repositioning did you do to make sure those things are happening now?
Significant. Yeah. So now I can tell you right where we're at with everything. I can tell you our reopen rates. I can show you first time close rates. I can show you, I can now see everything. We focus a lot on visibility. Before it was kind of like, whatever our tools were showing us, good enough. We're rolling along. But it was creating what Don called a ticket factory. It was just how many tickets did we have today and how many more came in? And, they just kept stacking up and stacking up. And to the point that eventually the company felt like our job as MSP was to run tickets.
Well,
that's not.
Isn't that kind of the way you know me, I don't do tickets.
Right. But the industry says.
But the industry is all about how many tickets do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it's really about how do you know if you're growing? Well, you're closing more tickets and you're closing them faster. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? Does that have to be the way it is? But to some degree, you have to have a way of showing customers what you did.
Sure.
That is true. And in a lot of ways, tickets solve that issue.
So yes. I think of it more in a way of it's a communication
tool. Okay.
Right? So Dave is going to have a different spin on this than I do. But yes, you have to have a way to communicate an issue appropriately, a way to document the issue appropriately, and show that it's done appropriately.
Right.
Now I'm going to let somebody else talk because I'm sure you have a different spin on it than I do.
Yeah, I hate tickets. But for me, a ticket is simply a way of keeping track of something that someone has asked us to do. I don't like the old philosophy of everything is a ticket. If it wasn't a ticket, it didn't exist and all that other nonsense. I don't believe in that. I believe that clients would vastly prefer we're doing proactive work, helping them grow their business, actually implementing new things than responding to things being broken all the time.
Right.
And so to base an MSP on how many tickets do I have and how many tickets have I done, I think is looking at the wrong thing. So what we did as part of this rebuild was we required all of our engineers to do root cause analysis on every ticket. Why did we get it? And how do we make sure we never, ever get it again? Because the goal was to get rid of tickets.
Okay.
Every one of my guys would absolutely love a day when they didn't have to do any tickets. This doesn't mean they wouldn't do any work. They just want to do tickets.
Right.
They're not going to do reactive type work. They want to sit down and do new project work. Or they want to go in and implement new capabilities and features. And so it felt like we added a lot of work to our plate by saying every ticket you're going to look at and figure out why did we get this darn thing? But as we did that over time, we reduced our total ticket count by, 68%.
Nice.
So now our guys do maybe 20% of their week is reactive work and the rest is 80% doing proactive work for our clients. So we have this new relationship we've built with clients now where we are actively pursuing new initiatives in their businesses all the time, as opposed to just constantly reacting to problems.
Yeah. I like the idea of no tickets just because, one, I don't want to have that nagging reminder all the time that, it's got to be a ticket, or the customers don't want to have to always send an email or create a ticket. They just want to be able to call and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? And okay, yeah, we can do that. And then do it. It doesn't have to be a ticket in a sense.
No. And
it
shouldn't be. Because again, there's ways to do communication.
Right.
That isn't ticket based. And that's completely appropriate, especially on the account management, client success, whatever you want to call that side. I mean, even I was answering emails with a client here this morning just about some DLP things that they had going on. Right. And it was just a nice, good conversation.
Mm-hmm. Now, aside from tickets, because tickets is just, I see tickets as kind of not necessarily a symptom, but what about the processes? Because that's really, in my mind, where things usually have to get resolved. What are your processes to make things happen, to get things done? How much work did you guys have to do on that beyond the root analysis? Because it's one thing to look at the root and say, okay, this is why. What were the steps to make sure it doesn't happen again? And how do you document that so that anybody in the organization can take it from here?
Well, and that's exactly the key, though, is doing exactly that, documenting what it is. Once you find out what it is and what you have to do to solve it, you have to document what that was and create a process around it. So what we started doing is every time we had to solve anything at all, I don't care what it was, the guys either had a documented process that someone had written up on how to do it, or they had to stop and create one. So we had very little documentation. We came, having been in this business for 20
Well,
years.
and what we had was locked away in our PSA in KB's and then in somebody else's head or other people's heads or in our heads, or
Way too
it was
much of that.
ridiculous.
Yep. There's way too much of that. It was difficult to find anything or find the person that knew how to do the thing or whatever it was. So that led to inconsistencies all over the place.
Okay, sidebar. Did that lead to the situation where employees would be like, oh, I don't handle that, this person does, and they would just simply hand off because of that?
Or escalate up because, well, there's no documentation on how to do this thing, so I'll hand it off to somebody else. And that led to that key individual that ended up leaving us, who'd been with us the entire length of the business, knew how to do all the things. So he would do the hero move, right? Move in, scoop that ticket, just take care of it, and it's done.
Okay.
But wouldn't document it, wouldn't do anything, and thus still no knowledge passed on. So it created, this is why Don was talking about the fact we couldn't get tickets closed in appropriate time, and they kept coming back up, and they were done inconsistently because we were absolutely terrible at that side of things. So as part of that rebuild, yes, writing up all of our processes, documenting everything step by step. Lots of documentation, change management. We had no change management system. If it seemed like the
we had one. It was just really convoluted.
Okay, well, having one and no one using it is basically the same thing as not
100%.
having one, right?
Oh, yeah.
So-
Having that discussion with the client, they have a case management system. People aren't using it, so they want to get a new one. I'm like, what's the point of getting a new one if they're still not going to use it? You need to get your processes in order.
Right.
And that's a business thing. That's not an IT thing.
Yeah.
That was a whole thing. So I'm sorry. That's just...
No, that's how we felt about it. It was like we have some things we'd create along the way, but no one was using. We had a playbook that the guys were supposed to be using, and the thing no one was using. it. Like, it didn't make any sense to create things that no one would use. So it was a whole lot of like getting the group together and everybody agreeing on this is how we're going to do it. This is our naming conventions. This is our standards. This is how we're going to document, where to look for everything.
Well, and thankfully, the technicians that we have now are phenomenal. They're just absolutely phenomenal, and they do police each other.
Yes.
I want to call that just from the standpoint of they're very strategic about naming conventions and what things look like and just how complete things have to be. Because if somebody opens up documentation on a client and it's not the way that it's supposed to be, somebody's getting a talking to that day.
Wow. Okay. I'm trying to remember. Did you guys like dump your level ones at one point?
Yeah, we did.
Was that
It was
part of this or before this?
Part of
It
this.
was part of
Okay.
this.
All
Yep,
right.
it was strategic. It started off with the fact that we kept having weaker and weaker people in some of these roles, to the point that the individual that left, the ex-service manager, he actually was hiring what I guess you'd call even level zeros. Guys were good enough to take the equipment out and drop it off at the client site, for instance, or just go out and set up the computers for them. And then somebody else would jump in. But it created a situation where we were putting our weakest people in front of the client. And so the client's impression of us was whatever their skill set was. But these are not necessarily bad people, but the weakest skill set.
Right.
So they couldn't necessarily answer the questions correctly, or they didn't know how to do the thing. And so things took longer than they needed to, or they got inconsistent answers. Once again, the clients, when we started this, 20 years ago, were used to dealing with only higher end engineers. That's all we had on the team. And they kept asking us, can we go back to that? That's what we loved about you guys.
Yeah.
And so, so we actually got rid of the level ones and now only have experienced engineers on the team only.
You said the service manager was the one hiring?
Yeah, he kept bringing in.
So
guys.
do you think that was a thing that they did on purpose to kind of...
I don't want to
make them
say one way or the other, because I don't think that's fair. We have no way to know.
Okay.
No way to know
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
well, I'm trying to be ginger because I don't know what the
I don't know.
relationship... I didn't ask... Did you ever find out why they left? Was it...
Oh yeah. No, we found
Okay.
out why he left, and we know where he went.
They just...
No, he went to work for one of our largest clients and took our client.
That's what I'm saying. I
broke-
thought,
Yeah, broke a contract and so forth. But that all aside, I don't think he was doing it intentionally. I think it was more just didn't care. He was covering for lack of processes by putting more people in place. And that's not the right solution. You can't just hire your way past
Right.
not having all the things you need. And
Okay.
that's essentially what we were doing.
Right. And what we found was that any MSP that's trying to compensate for lack of process, people skills, whatever you want to do, creates that weird scenario where you have that churn going on and the burnout, especially of the
Right.
level 1 folks, because they have no way to know what the process is. They have no way to know what the documentation should be. They have
Right.
no way. They have nowhere to go for any of that information beyond to somebody else.
And I imagine that they would just leave because they're like, well, I don't see any opportunity here. I mean,
Yep.
I'm not getting any help. So,
And they eventually also just felt like it was just a job.
okay.
And there wasn't enough culture buy-in. I found the more experienced guys actually got even more frustrated because there was pointless escalations happening. They felt like, they're doing all the work. And when they did try to train, no one really cared. So it became a really awful internal situation there too. So it's just, looking at it holistically, it's just like, this just doesn't make any sense.
Right. All right. So you guys think you've turned the corner?
Oh, absolutely. Our clients think we have, and that's the
Yeah.
important part.
Yeah.
There you go. Did you hear anything new from a client after all that? Did they come back and tell you things that you wish, why didn't you tell me sooner?
We heard some of that for
A little
sure.
bit, but I met with all of them right away.
Yeah.
And got an earful right
Okay.
in there. So I went and I took my beating, as I should, and heard all about things that I wish they had been telling me all along.
Yeah.
Maybe we would have avoided some of that.
But I think some of it too, we were very transparent with what had happened.
Right.
And there was empathy for, man, that sucks. Like that's,
Yeah.
nobody wants to have that happen. So I think we were lucky in that respect.
We were, and while we appreciate what they gave us in terms of empathy and so forth, that bought us a little bit of time to prove that we could do it better. And so that's why we just had to work really, really hard right away to show that we were going to turn that corner and get the ship righted. And we did fast enough. I think everybody was pretty happy.
Yep.
We lost some clients along the way, of course, but in fact, we had one client tell us, "Hey, you're paying for the sins of the past." We saw what happened last year, and decisions were already made.
Yeah.
Hey, that is what it is. And that's okay. I'm just happy with where we've gotten to now,
Okay.
and the hard work was worth it.
Yeah.
Did you take questions after the session?
There were some people that followed us out.
Okay. Just I was going to say, I'm sure that you probably got hounded. Was there one question that really stuck out in terms of made you think, I hadn't thought of that? Or was it commiseration of somebody saying, gosh, I'm glad you shared that because we're going through that? I mean, what stuck out?
It was a lot of commiseration.
Okay.
But there was a gentleman from the UK that came out and said, so if I'm hearing this correctly, what you're telling me is I should fire all my level 1s. And what people really want is to go back to having all the higher end folks, because this was the exact same conversation of, this is what we started with.
Mm-hmm.
This is what my clients like. Are you telling me we just need to go back there and flush everything that we've heard over the last 10 years? I'm like, yeah, pretty much.
And that's a thing too, where, I mean, with automation, RPAs, AI, we're being told to automate everything, make it to where the customers don't talk to us.
Mm-hmm.
But-
And I don't think that's realistic. I do believe that there's 100%, there's a place for AI, there's a place for automation. Once everything is clean, neat, tidy, where it should be.
There's still got to be human interaction.
100%, there should be.
Business is all about people.
Yeah.
No matter what. At the end of the day, even though we're in a tech business, it's still about people. We're here to help people, and it's a people-to-people business. So, no, I don't think our clients would ever be okay with the idea that it would be taken over by fully automated or AI-type responses. That's not a thing.
Well, and there's something to be said for the simple things, right?
Yeah.
If I can get something done really quick with a bot, great. But the moment I have something that's a little bit more complex, and the moment the bot fails, I'm calling back right away, and I'm like, agent.
Yep. So I told you about this client call that we got the other day.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand how they found us. And I told you about the process. But the bottom line is, so I had a Zoom with her today where we talked. And I just asked, I said, did you call anybody else? And are you looking at other proposals. She said, no, you were the first one I called. You answered the phone and it clicked. I was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, that's a little too simple, but a lot of times that's all it takes.
Yep.
Answering the phone.
Yep. Our guys still answer the phone when you call in. It, it doesn't dump you into an automated thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Our guys still pick up the
Yeah.
phone.
So it was interesting. All right. So let's end on a little uppity note here. I know that I didn't want that to bring you down.
It shouldn't be. I don't know that it is, to be fair. I mean, we had a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, but we're in such a better place now than we have been probably for the last 5 or 6 years.
Our team's happier. Everybody in the organization is happier. Like it was a rough time, but I think telling the story of what we went through helps other people realize that even if they're going through it, it's okay.
Right.
It's worth putting the effort into.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So I have resisted telling this to anybody about how our peer group started.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so when we talked about doing a little partnership or whatever it was, if I had come to you now and said I wanted to do that, and you look back at where things were then, how different night and day were they? Like, because you guys thought everything was good, and this was what, 3 years ago?
3-4 years ago. Yeah. It was quite a while ago.
Yeah.
To be fair, I think technology has come a very different way than where we were at 3-4 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't want to say it's an unfair question. I want to say that times have changed.
They
How's
have,
that?
and I was trying to figure out how to ask it because I imagine that you probably feel much better now. And to be fair, let me do this. So we had talked about the fact that, I'm known as the boutique MSP.
Yeah.
Technically, it's just me. I do have subs, and I have had employees in the past, and I thought I would never have an employee again. Well, honey, you're still an employee. We say. But in terms of like full-time other techs, I thought I'm just going to keep using subs when I need to. But I was at a point where business was good. It was, I shall say, booming.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, if I'm going to keep this going, I probably should consider hiring a techs again, building out a business process and stuff. And that's where we came together. I'm like, hey, maybe tell me what you guys are doing that you like.
Yeah.
And
so we talked a little bit about EOS and what that looks like. And I think you got kind of down into the hiring process and decided, nope, I really don't want to do this. But I think where we are from a operational maturity standpoint, understanding the data side, again, has come a long way because we were just in a totally different scenario. In fact, I think we have a different PSA, we have a different line of business applications than we did even back then. And while we had some visibility into them, the visibility that we have now is light years beyond what we were doing then. And I think over the last year, we've had to take a very different look at how we were doing business from many different aspects. But some of that too is looking into the future and trying to figure out like where's the industry going?
Yeah.
How do we need to get set up for that? So that's why I'm saying like the question's a little bit different.
It is. But I was thinking more in terms of, I mean, you're part of, Rocket Full.
Yeah.
So you're going to be talking to MSPs about, processes and growth and stuff like that. And I just imagine that it's a completely different conversation now than it was.
It is.
then.
I mean, just saying that you need to do it because you need to do it is very different than there's a very strict standard that needs to happen and why it needs to happen that way.
And what will happen if you don't?
And what happens if you don't?
Yeah.
Exactly. But even from the standpoint of, even when you have some documentation, let's pick that as the the thing right now. Even if you have some, the moment you start hiring people, you don't have enough. And that's really what it boils down to.
Right.
So even if you only have that just enough to get by documentation. The moment you hire your second person, third person, or whatever that looks like, all of a sudden you're going to be underwater before you even get started.
Yeah.
Because the next person, one, they're not going to know how you structure it, what that actually looks like, how to make documentation when they're, going to get ready to do it, or how to read what you already have because they don't understand what the standard is.
Yeah. So there was somebody that asked me about that. And I'm like, why are you asking me? But it was like, yeah, because you're doing them. And the bottom line I said is, you're going to have to document not just the process, but how to document the process for the process. It was kind of that circle. It's like, you have to basically from the time you walk in the door, you've got to start documenting. It's just the bottom line.
Yeah. So I know even our sites all have photos. Sometimes they have like walkthrough video, depending on the scenario. And then they're down to even the naming conventions. Have to be exact on everything.
Yep. It's interesting. So I just had a customer when they finally asked me to break down, how I'm billing them. And and I've told this on the air before. So I have a server fee, an endpoint fee, a user fee. I have a network fee and then a cyber fee. And trying to explain to them the network fee they just didn't get. I'm like, well, we've got to document your network. Anytime that something pops on the network and I call you to ask you what it is, that's part of the network. That's not tied to a user. It's not tied to an endpoint. I said, we've got to do all that stuff. And part of that network management fee now is documentation. Everything we've got to document. And, all the stuff some clients, we actually have paperwork in the server room so that as we're doing stuff with them, I can say, go to the book, go to page 12. And they're like, oh, okay.
There was a time we had something.
Yeah, we used to do that.
Okay, don't be mocking me now.
Back in the day. No.
Daniel's son, you shall soon not need documentation in the server room.
So few of our clients have big server rooms anymore.
Mine do.
Yeah. We have a couple that do.
Still has binders with CDs.
So I just had
CDs,
So I just had a meeting. Was it last week? Last week I went into, one of my law firms, the managing partner that I've worked side by side with him for 20 years, however long they've been a client, he retired. So I'm now dealing with new quote unquote managing partners, even though that's not the title. They've been there for years. They have been there for years. And I'm sitting there talking to them and they're like, what servers do we have? And I'm like, have you not seen their, and the one girl looks at me, she goes, I didn't know we had a server room. And I'm like, let's go. I got up and walked them out. And of course it was out the main office across the hall. And she's like, this is ours?
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, yeah, this is yours. And I open it and I showed them everything. They're like, oh, wow. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're paying for. Wow. But even things like that, they have to know what they have.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So we did have a really good point in all of the session this morning about accountability.
Okay.
Right? And how accountability can't just live with us. It's shared with the client. It's shared with the staff. Like accountability exists everywhere.
So this proposal I'm sending, this is interesting. I didn't plan on I actually put on the proposal.
Did you put a RACI chart in there?
No, I put client responsibilities.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So that they would see that before we even engaged and stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
That's, see, I'm doing okay, right?
You're doing great. Gold star for you.
Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and start ending off the show here. How long are you guys down?
We're until Thursday.
Yep, Thursday.
It's Monday now. So.
All right. Seen any good places yet?
Your place.
I mean, this better be at the top.
I mean, of course.
You know what I need? I need a Third Element shirt hanging from the rafters.
I can make that happen.
Why has that not been a thing?
I can make that happen.
Okay.
No, this was a thing.
You didn't know?
We didn't know.
How do you not? I know you don't listen and watch the show, but how do you not know?
I do catch the show. I do. I just don't always watch it. And to be fair, when you're watching the show, you see your background. You're not showing us the ceiling with all the T-shirts hanging from.
That's true. That's true. I could, I guess, have a second camera.
just focus on the T-shirt. Yeah.
Just with it. Or that'll be like my commercial time as we're doing the sponsors.
To be fair, it does look like the United Nations in here of vendors with all the T-shirts hanging from the rafters like flags.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually had a vendor in here yesterday that was saying, my shirt's not up here. And I'm like, well.
That seems like a you problem.
Yeah, you got to get better swag at the conferences. All right. So you're staying at the Omni, right?
Staying at the Omni.
So that's where the event is, the Omni Hotel. For those that don't know, brand new hotel in Fort Lauderdale. Was supposed to open up last year. It's a little delayed. So it opened up early this year. And it's supposed to be really nice. I know it's really expensive.
It's a beautiful hotel.
But it's on the Intracoastal.
Yeah.
And they've got the meeting rooms and stuff in there. It's right next to the convention center, which is odd.
Which is kind of funny. Yeah. Well, I mean, we opened up the curtains this morning to see 3 cruise ships out our window.
Yeah.
And what's really funny is normally when I stay at a hotel, I get one of 2 views. It's either a horrific parking lot, usually with junker vehicles in it for some strange reason, or the air conditioning units. This time I got the cruise ships and literally the water treatment plant. So like the poo-poo plants on one side and the cruise ships are on the other.
Yeah.
So we chuckled about that this morning. I'm like, well, that's a first.
Yeah. So today would have been cool because today would have been all the cruise ships coming back.
Yes. That sucked, by the way, because of course we were leaving the hotel as all of those people were leaving.
Oh.
And it was like horrific, just mass exodus.
Interesting. So I've got a client right there in the port too. So that's pretty cool. I get to see him all the time. So it's a cool little place.
Yeah.
And so you went out west to the Sawgrass area. Are you going to head east to the beach?
Yep.
That's tomorrow. We're going to figure out where to go because we're not a native to the area and you guys are. So we'll figure that out.
Okay. We'll tell you about that.
Yeah.
Kim has all the great spots.
We figured
where to hang.
We figured you would have no idea because you never go to the beach.
Yeah. I know where I drop her off. And then she walks to her spot and then we have a dedicated pickup spot.
Nice.
So be nice. All right. Anything else you want to share with the folks here?
If you have the chance, come see Marv. His office is awesome. The podcast area is really super cool. And he's just a great host all the way around.
Yeah. Yeah. So now that you've made it here and let me know that you're here and come to visit me, I will go ahead and finish the announcement of the 1000th podcast episode. Will be a live show the last Sunday of this month, Sunday, April 26th, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I have done the unwise.
It is the unwise.
Really unwise.
And given you a segment of the show.
You have. And I've made a very special music piece for it. I've put together an amazing sea shanty for it.
Okay.
It's scary.
Okay.
I gave it to Cody from Galactic and he loved it. So he giggled.
Oh my. Okay. I don't know what to say about that. So Don is probably, I don't know that you've been on the show the most, but if I had to put together a list of the most popular episodes as a group, yours would be up there. So that's why I did that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. We always have a good time. I mean, we go off the rails a little bit.
We do. And you'd be surprised how many people tell me, and I wonder if they tell you, the episode with the camera.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
People.
That was so funny. And so for those of you who didn't see the episode with the camera, it wouldn't focus properly.
No. Well, it would focus, but not on me.
So I just kept leaning in. So it would refocus. It was just so funny.
So that was great. So anyway, well, thank you for stopping by. We are going to go ahead and end off the show and go have some dinner or something and enjoy your time in South Florida.
Doesn't exist.
And we'll wait to some iguanas as we head out here.
All right.
Sounds good.
So, all right, folks, that is going to do it. Don and Dave Sizer, man, here in South Florida. We're going to take more pictures. I'm going to have to get a magistrate from the county here. We're going to have to get somebody to do one of those signature stamps,
Oh,
you know.
notary
Yeah.
thing. Oh, yeah.
Say yes, you were here and all that. But thank you guys for stopping by. Fantastic. And thank you all for listening. Join us for episode 1000 on April 26th, 4 p.m. Eastern. And I hope this song.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
I hope this song is
It's so
good.
bad.
Thanks for tuning in, folks. We will see you soon. Until next time, holla.